Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Deniches and welcome back to Spooktober Day 25. So this is the 25th day of October and today we will discuss about witch trials. I'm kind of concerned, not concerned, I'm kind of curious about what happened back then. There's a lot of games that mention witch trials, right? Like Salem witch trials, which apparently happened in Salem. And Salem is in, I think in the US, if I remember correctly. Yeah, in Massachusetts. I don't know how to pronounce Massachusetts or Massachusetts or Massachusetts. I don't know, right? Excuse me. But yeah, because again, like it got mentioned in a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows, a lot of games. I'm kind of curious what actually happened there. So I guess, let's take a look, shall we? Um, the Salem, I think, Salem, which trials were a series of hearings and prosecutions of people accused of witchcraft in colonial Massachusetts between February 1692 and May 1693. Okay, so that took place about February, March, April, May, about 4 months, right? More or less. More than 200 people were accused. 30 were found guilty, but how though? Yeah, like again, this is about like when people were to be suspicious that some group of people actually conducted certain mystic arts, right? Like dark magic or something like that, or black magic. And like therefore they got accused into this, I think, right? That's like what I know. And apparently here 30 were found guilty. So how do they determine that those people were guilty then? Like did does this mean that they actually believe magic is real? And yeah, it's interesting, right? Because if you only if you will be found guilty if there is proof, right, that like you are found guilty, right? So also like the belief that you actually do the crimes, right? Therefore basically these people back then believed that magic was real. Although I mean, like, I don't think so, like right now anyway. I don't think people still believe in like magic, certain of like all those kinds of stuff, right? Like black magic, ritual. Although honestly, I mean, not ritual, but more like black magic practices, right? Although again, like I said previously as well, I think in the other video, that in like some kind of rural area maybe people still believe this kinds of stuff, right? Like I said again, in my in my country, like if you go to like the countryside or in the secluded area or remote area or like rural area, right? Like in the urban area basically. So like it seems like these kinds of stuff still going on, right? Although they are not really magic, I don't think. It's just like like ritual, right? Like their belief ritual basically. So again, like maybe some of this is like like maybe it's not really magic, right? It's just certain rituals or something like that. But I'm not gonna talk about that. I guess we'll just read this, right? I'm not gonna assume things even more or even further. 19 of whom were executed by hanging, 14 women and 5 men. Okay, so by this thing itself, it means that it was not only women then. Okay, so because again, like in the TV shows, in the movies, in the games, these like witches, I would say, should I say that? I don't know if that's the correct pronunciation. These people, right? These women, I thought that they were only women because again, like in the TV, in the movie, in the games, it's always represented as coven, right? Like midwives, basically, like like women, right? That that did this sorts of stuff, but apparently not, because there's also five men, although still not sure, right, if they're just accused and then like the guilty. Again, like, don't know how the judge system, or like the trial system back then, right? um Maybe like people just I don't know, right? I'm just talking about this out of my um you know not knowing anything at all, right? Just my, again, presumption. Is it like possible that these people are actually not guilty, however that people that are already hate these kinds of people that suspiciously do these kinds of ritual, they then make like fake proof, right? Like like basically a setup, right? A setup that can make these people getting accused and found guilty, right? Although it's not true. So yeah, I don't know if this was the a possibility back then. Again, I'm just talking this out of my curiosity, right? Um, Not that I'm defending these people that because like we know black magic usually revolves around like weird rituals, right? Like sacrificing stuff, maybe killing children, I don't know, like all those horrible stuff, right? I don't mean to defend those kinds of stuff. I mean, like, if this is actually true, right? So yeah, um because I don't know, that's why I'm here. One other man, Gilles Corey, was pressed to death for refusing to plead, and at least five people died in jail. Pressed to death. What does that mean? Um, is it like you laying on the ground or on sorts of altar probably, and then you got pressed by something heavy, maybe like a sack of stones or just big boulder or something like that? I'm not entirely sure, right? But yeah, that sounds horrifying, to be honest. Like, only one, right? So like, I don't know. I don't really want to imagine what happened, right? And then this one as well, illustration. The central figure in this 1876 illustration of the courtroom is usually identified as Mary Walcott. Okay. Arrests were made in numerous towns beyond Salem and Salem Village, known today as Danvers. Oh, Danvers. I think I have heard that location before from somewhere, notably Andover and Topsfield. Okay, I don't know where that is. The grand juries and trials for this capital crime were conducted by a court of oyer and terminer in 1692 and by a superior court of judicature in 1693, both held in Salem town, where the hangings also took place. It was the deadliest witch hunt in the history of colonial North America. Only 14 other women and 2 men had been executed in Massachusetts and Connecticut during the 17th century. So, yeah, 17th century. I guess this is close to 18th century because it's close to year 1700, right? So might as well call it um 18th century, right? Although technically not, but it's close to that, right? uh Okay, so yeah, there is that, I guess. The hangings, I guess it's just, yeah, like regular hangings, right? Maybe like people got tied up and then they all stood on a platform, I guess, and then the platform got released, I would say, and then these people hang themselves, right? Which is, like, again, very terrible if you imagine about it, right? Also, I don't know if, again, I haven't really know anything about this, right? Is there anything after this that makes up the following? Maybe like the future regulations, probably like like a little bit less what is it, like less forgiving than this, and then also I don't know, right, if this is actually legal or not, right? Because again, this is in courtroom. I always assume that these kind of stuff are legal, right? Again, I don't know if this is legal or not. If it is illegal, then do people did people in the far future from this time then try to like forgive, I guess, not forgive, like pardon, right? Pardon all these people, and like maybe punish, or like sentence these people that maybe if this is illegal, right? Again, I don't know if this is legal or not. Just asking. Again, very curious, right? Because like I'm Asian, right? Certainly these kinds of stuff didn't happen back then. We only got we got occupied under the Dutch, right? And like basically there's slavery, right? So we didn't really have these sorts of stuff, right? So we didn't actually know anything about this. As well as as an Asian, I don't know any culture from other countries as well, right? Like maybe from US, or even like European countries, and then like maybe from Russia as well. I don't know anything, right? And then even Asia as well, like maybe Chinese, Japan, Korean, Vietnamese, Thailand, Philippines, and so on and so on. I'm not really familiar, right? Even with the close by or nearby countries as well. But there's that. The episode is one of colonial America's most notorious cases of mass hysteria. It's been used in political rhetoric and popular literature as a vivid cautionary tale about the dangers of isolation, religious extremism, false accusations, and lapses in due process. It was not unique, but a colonial American example of the much broader phenomenon of witch trials in the early modern period, which took place also in Europe. Okay, so it also happened in Europe apparently. Many historians consider the lasting effects of the trials to have been highly influential in the history of the United States. According to historian George Lincoln Burr, the Salem witchcraft was the rock on which the theocracy shattered. At the 13th anniversary, I mean not 100, events in 1992 to commemorate the victims of the trials, a park was dedicated. Oh, okay, so it's a little bit weird because here it says commemorate, right? The victims of the trials. Does that mean people that got hanged or stuff like that? Or the victims of the people that got prosecuted, right? Like maybe like the family of the children that got murdered or something like that, right? Not sure. Um, was dedicated in Salem and a memorial in Danvers. In 1957, an act passed by the Massachusetts legislature absolved 6 people, while another one passed in 2001, absolved 5 other victims. As of 2004, there was still talk about exonerating all of the victims, though something that happened in the 18th century as the Massachusetts colonial legislature was asked to reverse the attainders of George Burroughs and others. In January 2016, the University of Virginia announced its Gallows Hills project team had determined the execution site in Salem, where the 19 witches had been hanged. The city dedicated the Proctor's Ledge Memorial to the victims there in 2017. Okay, I'm still confused. When this refers to as victims, again, do they mean these quote unquote witches, or again the family of which the witches have caused all the damage, right? Again, I don't know, but um again, like the thing that made me weird is that um because they have this dedicated park, right? And stuff to basically commemorate all this, right? If the victims is actually the witches, then it means that it was wrong, right, to do those kinds of witch trials, I guess, which might be illegal, right? So yeah, and then if this is about the family of the actual victims of the witches, then I guess it makes sense, right? That there is this memorial, I guess. But then again, I don't know who this memorial is used for. I know it's for the victims, but who are the victims, right? Do they refer to the witches, or do they refer to the family of the actual victims, right? So yeah, there you go. A little bit confusing for me. And anyway, maybe this, maybe if your first language is English, you already know what these victims refer to, right? But I kind of don't know, right? It's still vague and ambiguous, so that's why I said that. Okay, so background. While witch trial had begun to fade out across much of Europe by the mid 17th century, they continued on the fringes of Europe and in the American colonies. The events in 1692 to 93 in Salem became a brief outburst of a sort of hysteria in the New World, while the practice was already waning in most of Europe. Okay, so because this happened in America, I guess, then like people start to consider, oh, maybe this is actually true, right? Maybe this is the truth. So like like this is what they thought probably, right? um we saw lots of people doing weird ritual stuff, right? Maybe they also had connections to this kind of community, so maybe we should do the same thing, the witch trial in Europe as well, here in Europe. Therefore, maybe after that it follows to Europe, right? That's just my assumption, I guess, my guess, right? What happened there. um Again, maybe just because this happened in one place, therefore people from other places kinda, look into it and reflect to their surroundings as well, right? Maybe using the same thing. Because again, at that time it was not clear if this is legal or illegal potentially, right? Like if it's true or not to conduct such a trial, right? So yeah. In 1668, in Against Modern Sadducism, Joseph Glanville claimed that he could prove the existence of witches and ghosts of the supernatural realm. He wrote about the denial of the bodily resurrection and the supernatural spirits. In his treatise, he claimed that ingenious men should believe in witches and apparitions. If they doubted the reality of spirits, they not only denied demons but also the Almighty God. Glanville wanted to prove that the supernatural could not be denied. Those who did deny apparitions were considered heretics, for that also disproved their beliefs in angels. Works by men such as Glanville and Cotton Mather tried to prove that demons were alive. Okay, so I have like kind of counter opinion about this, right? Um, like just because there is God and there is demon, there is spirits, it doesn't mean that we also have to believe that witchcraft existed, right? Um, like from my point of view, just because we don't believe witchcraft exists, doesn't mean we ignore the existence of God, right? Maybe it is called differently. Again, like here in my country, I think there's actually, ritual practices, right? Like weird, again, like quote unquote dark magic ritual practices, right? But it's not really that, right? It's not called that. It's just called maybe like ritual, right? And sometimes these kinds of ritual, yes, it includes a corporation or a company from the spirit as well, like the jinns or the Satan or demons, right? Like they make what is it again? Make a deal with these unholy creatures, right? And yes, actually, according to our belief, like our urban beliefs, it's actually possible, right? Like the spirits can actually do something that will help human, right? And in this case, used in bad way, but you know maybe that can also be called witchcraft, but again, like again, because we live in modern society, right? We don't really think about these kinds of witchcraft anymore, right? Like we only focus on political and economy. I guess there's always a great thing about political economy, I guess, so that we don't really get ourselves like care about these kinds of old ancient practices, right? So I guess there's that, the positive of that, because we like because of the our current politic and economy, then we'll only think about that, right? Care about that, like like the government sucks or something like that, right? Like other countries is not as great as us, right? So and stuff like that, right? Potentially, right? That becomes our main focus. Therefore, we don't really think about these kinds of stuff anymore, right? So yeah, again, like I said, although we don't, like maybe some people don't believe in witchcraft, doesn't mean that they entirely don't believe in the existence of God, right? Maybe their belief is that God exists, and then demon angels also believe, but they are at separate realm from us, and then we cannot actually contact with each other, right? That's also a possibility, right? So yeah, um, but yeah, that's about it, I guess. Like again, like just because you don't believe on something, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't believe in something else that's close or related to it, right? But yeah, that's just my opinion. um there's also a lot of stuff, right? I guess if we read all of these, we will know about the I guess like how then it got maybe like it shifted from these kinds of trials maybe into more human trials, right? Because at the end of the day, these people are still human, right? All these quote unquote witches and wizards, I would say, yeah, although they've already done bad things, but then again, the question is, are they under influence of Satan or demon? Like we talk in exorcism, right? Like, or they did it intentionally with the actual intent of harming, doing harmful things to others, right? So we don't really know about this, right? It's not clear. Maybe it's clear over here, and we can actually, like read about this. I guess you can read all these pages by yourself. It's just a long read, right? Timeline, I guess this probably like this one, the present day archaeological site of the Salem village parsonage, right? Okay, so yeah, there you go. This is the site, I guess. If you go to Salem, probably in what is it, Danvers, I think. Okay. Um, Okay, I guess again this is probably like how the entire thing, right? Maybe like from the reports from the locals and then what they're doing to do that. Like maybe there's a record on that, right? They make timeline probably, right? Yeah, recorded everything, even like maybe the D-day of execution, the courtroom or the trials and stuff like that as well. And yeah, there's just too much readings. I don't think I can cover all of these. Maybe in other occasion, probably we'll get back to it, right? When things are way better than now, right? Because again, like I only do this simply, right? Using my phone to record. Maybe, like just maybe, if we are lucky enough, in the future that we have the proper equipment and then a lot of people to help with these kinds of research as well, right? To make things simplified, basically. So yeah, again, that will be it, I think, for today's discussion about witch trials. At least we know a little bit, right? Um, like yeah, basically we know a little bit, although not many. We didn't really read a lot of stuff as well. But again, that's just because I don't really want to spend a lot of time only for this, right? Kind of have to record more videos. So this is just like a brief case of what which trial is, right? Like when, where, what happened, and how, and then the correlation between then and now, right? Because again, like this, we know now, um, there is actually like a site, right? It's made into site as to commemorate all this stuff, right? Again, I still don't know who is involved here, right? Is the people that did the like the trials that were false because it was illegal, or it was the right thing to do, right? And that the witches were actually the you know deserve what they got, right? Again, I don't know. That's why there's that. still don't know. Maybe if I read the whole thing, I will know, but I'll probably read this offline, right? Somewhere in the future. But yeah, I think I'll wait for the discussion about witch trials. It is spooky, yes, obviously, because again, like here in my country, again, I guess this is a short story, right? Here in my country, if there is a person that did black magic and stuff like that, that passed away, um, their rituals actually still continued. So, like yeah, it becomes weird as well, right? It can become like if they put some curses to people and then they died, so these people might have hard time to lift the curse, right? Because the casters already died, right? The curse still continued, and it will be bad if the curses actually got transferred into the next generation, right? Like maybe your great grandfather do these kinds of stuff, and then the effects got triggered into your grandparents, and then your parents, and then you, and then maybe your children in the future, right? So yeah, it's kind of scary if you think about it. That's why I put this in this Booktober, I guess, just for a little bit of historical background, I guess, because I'm I heard a lot of reference about witch trials that happened back then. I guess like 300 years ago now. However, I don't really know the details, right? I guess reading this early part, we kind of know the brief, like the brief summary of this, right? But yeah, I think that'll be it for today's discussion of Spooktober Day 25 about witch trial. I will enjoy it. I will see you again tomorrow with another discussion on day 26. Stay safe, healthy. I will see you again very soon, and see ya.